Learning circles are a structure for collaboration. I'm Margaret Ryle, and I'm going to give you a brief overview of learning circles. I'm going to start by contrasting it to two other ways of doing group work, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit more about learning circle, ending with a link where you can find it. The first model of collaboration that I'm going to talk about I call committee work. This is when participants divide up a task. They each do their own part, and then they stitch these parts together in a report that becomes the group product. Now, the good points about this model is that it is an efficient and fair way to divide up the work. Everyone has part ownership and everyone is responsible for their part. The drawbacks is that it minimizes learning from others, there's likely to be less coherence, and there's a possibility of duplication. So the second model for collaboration that I want to talk about is a whole group process. In this case, the leader organizes the group to produce the product. The leader elicits critique, extensions, questions, ideas, suggestions from the participants, and then stitches together these ideas, incorporating them into a report that he or she writes. Now, the good points about this is that it is collaborative learning and there is shared knowledge building in these discussions. And likely the report is going to be more coherent because it's written by a single person. The drawback is that it is the leader who is getting most of the learning. The participants may or may not be fully engaged, and certainly there's less ownership of the final process of writing up the document. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put both of these, we're going to start with the group process model, and we're going to put it into the learning circle. And then we're going to take the committee work model and we're going to put it into the learning circle. And then what we're going to get out is a combined model that works on the principle of distributed leadership. So you can see the task is still divided up as it was in the first model into 5 parts, and each of the participants have agreed to be the leader, that's the second model, of a group process that helps develop the ideas around that part of the overall project. So in this model then, the group project is written by the leaders who all have had input on each of the parts from everybody in the circle. And this process we call a learning circle. So the learning circle model is described in this way. A learning circle is a model for collaboration with distributed leadership around the creation of a shared product. A small number of participants collaborate on a set of theme-linked projects for a specified period of time to gain deeper knowledge and shared understandings. So the learning circle model has a number of dimensions. We've touched on a few of them, and I will refer you to the learning circle site for more information. But let me just quickly say, individual ownership and group responsibility encapsulated in distributed leadership are critical. Diverse participants gives you widely varying perspectives that is helpful when you're thinking about an issue. The projects we talked about, dividing the task into smaller projects organized by a theme. There are circle norms and expectations, and then the outcomes from a learning circle are both the knowledge building dialogue and the circle product. So this is the online Learning Circles website, and you can see that there are links for the model and there are links for the learning circle phases, which we'll talk about briefly in a minute. And then there are sections of how learning circle work with different groups of people or learners. There's the K-12 learners, university learners, teacher groups, graduate students, researchers. There's a range of different settings that learning circles have been employed, and in each case there's slightly differences because of the different populations and the different purposes they use learning circles for. So I said we would talk about phases of a learning circle. So the first task is setting the stage for the learning circle interaction, that is, putting people into learning circles. And then opening the circle is a process of building trust, often through activities that involve self-disclosure and dialogue. Then there is the planning of the set of circle projects that revolve around the theme. So there's individual sponsorship of collaborative circle projects. Then there's the exchange of work on the project. You can see that takes the most time and is the time when there is this group process around each of the projects or sub-projects. And then there's the sharing of the outcomes, the presentation of the materials, and then finally there's a reflective process as the circle closes. Circles are participant-led, and this reduces the need for outside moderation, making them a good structure both for cross-classroom collaboration and for the massive online courses that are often referred to as MOOCs. Learning circles provide a structure of interaction for the circle work. They're the dimensions of the learning circle and the norms for interaction. And finally, technology supports learning circle in three ways: providing a way to match students into circles, facilitating the circle interaction online in both synchronous and asynchronous settings, and the production and the sharing of the circle products. So for more information on learning circles, there is the online learning circles site, and I refer all of you there if you want to get more information about how learning circles operate in the K-12 setting. You can go to Global Learning Circles on the International Education and Resource Network. That is also linked from the Learning Circles site. And then I have a technology blog that talks about different tech tools that may be useful in the process of doing learning circles.